I'm Stacie Beckert, and I have been studying yoga for almost 30 years now, and I'm here today to share a restorative practice with you. Restorative being a way for you to get as comfortable as possible in the shapes that we come into, and to take care of yourself. It's some nurturing, some grounding, just find some ease in the body. In our practice today, you're going to need a few items to help support you in the shapes that we're going to be in. I have just a regular towel, so towel works. You can use a blanket. I also have a pillow. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all you'll need to get started. So I'm going to roll this blanket up. I like a nice thick lift. But because you are going to be taking care of your body and being responsible for your comfort, you can make this as small or as large as you want. You might get down there and say, that's too much or that's not enough. So yeah, it can be this high or it can be up to here, this high. So part of this practice that I love and get very excited about is getting grounded and then going internal and exploring and learning where I have space in my body, where I feel grounded, and where I need more room. And so we'll be exploring that today with this session. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is lay down over this lift. And I said you want it to be the right height for your body today. And so when I come down onto this, it's gonna be under the bottom corners of my shoulder blades so that it's lifting my rib cage. And then when I take my arms out to the sides, my shoulders can release downward toward the ground. Now, with that, we want to make sure that the head is fully supported. And so you have a pillow, you can have another folded up blanket, but this is pretty much the shape that we're going to be in. Now your arms, you can do anything you'd like with your arms so that they're comfortable. Legs, they can be in any shape that feels most comfortable for you. This is all about you taking care of yourself, you nurturing yourself, and it's always worth the extra time and the extra effort to get as comfortable as you possibly can. If you like your knees bent, you can take your feet wider apart and drop your knees in toward each other. But this is pretty much the shape that we'll start in. So let yourself settle into the shape, making sure that your head feels fully supported, and close your eyes. Take a moment to gather your attention into your body, letting any distractions of the day, any distractions of your life, just let them all be where they are as you come as fully into present time as possible. And so start by just observing the contact that you have with the ground. Take your time. And just everywhere you feel contact with the floor, let it deepen, let it sink and spread out. Okay. Anywhere you feel that contact with the ground, let it deepen, sink, and spread out. And as you're doing this, I want you to notice where you feel this happening. Where does your body naturally release in this way? Where do you feel that level of depth with the ground? And then where does it not? Where do you not feel it? So maybe you have contact and it won't deepen, or you have contact and it will deepen. There's a lot of moments in the body that are touching the floor right now for you to explore. And I want you to get familiar with how being grounded feels. So if you can, find the very heaviest, deepest moment of contact that you have and sink all of your attention into that. And see if, with your exhalation, can you let it deepen any amount more? All right, now that you're in your body as fully as you can be right now, soften your belly, soften your inner groin, inner thighs, and bring more weight into your hips. let your hips get really heavy. Your hips in this shape are going to be your anchor. And so let them ground, let them deepen. And take a few breaths to let it deepen a little bit more. And as you soften your belly, as you release your hips, from there, the back of your body has room to lengthen over this lift. And so let your back lengthen, let it open, and soften it to let it receive the lift. And for a moment, I want you to play with observing this in two perspectives. So one is that you're laying on that lift. You're laying over it, right? And then the other is, can you feel the difference when you can soften and let yourself receive the lift? So take your time exploring those two perceptions. And from there, as you soften and let your back receive that lift, it's lifting your rib cage. So your back ribs are lifting, your side ribs are expanding, front ribs expand. And so as they're opening here, where do you feel some space? You know, the rib cage there's a lot of room between the ribs. And each rib starts in your sternum and your breastbone and wraps all the way around to your spine. And each place it connects to on your spine is a joint, is a hinge. So there should be movement in the rib cage. And so take a few breaths to see, where do you feel some space in your rib cage? Where do you feel it open? All right, as you expand your rib cage and as you look for this space, you know, you're also going to be able to find where you need more. Let's let that space move up into the chest. So let your chest gently lift and broaden. As it does, soften the front of your armpits and release the top of your shoulders. Bring a little more weight into the root of your arms. And let that release just wash down your arms, through your elbows, through your wrists, and your palms. As your chest opens and your shoulders release, open and soften the space in between your shoulder blades. So it should be right where the peak of that lift is. Really open it up. And from there, let your neck release longer and bring a little more weight into the base of your skull. Now, as you're here, I want you to take a moment here also to see how much are you holding your head up and how much are you letting your head be held. And that may or may not change today. It's just so that you have more information in your body, right? Most of this, what we're doing is observing. We're being observers. And what is going to happen throughout your practice is you're going to be in the experience. You're going to be observing yourself in the experience. You're going to be judging the experience and analyzing. And your mind's going to go a lot of different places with this. And so all of that is okay. There's no right or wrong. And I want you to be really, really conscientious about being comfortable in this shape. All right, so now that we're here, it is up to breath. And so start to bring your attention to your breath. And as you're able, we're going to really pay attention to the textures in the breath. And so as you're breathing, your breath changes textures throughout the inhale, throughout the exhale. Just kind of get familiar with any textures you can notice in your breath at all. And you're not necessarily going to feel every moment, every texture in every moment. All right, so come to observe the textures in your breath. So throughout your inhalation, throughout the exhalation, the texture changes, right? And so what we want to do is we want to find the gentlest breath we can find. And so start to smooth it out and let your breath be as gentle as possible. And then from there, slow it down just a little bit at a time until you find your perfect blend, your perfect combination of gentle and slow. It is a controlled breath, but it's also, we want it to be as effortless as possible. And so when you find yours, it's going to be a lot easier to maintain control of. Good. When you find your breath, so the inhale is going to be really gentle. Exhale, really gentle. And let's start with just a few belly breaths. So you can, if you'd like, put one hand on your belly, or you can leave your arms extended. And very gently start to reach your inhalation into the lowest part of your belly you can reach. Super sweet, super soft. Inhaling into low belly, exhaling to soften low belly even more. Just giving you time to really come into your body. As you exhale, as you soften, let your hips become even heavier. Now we're going to explore the rib cage. And so with your breath, I want you to very gently, still so gently, start to breathe into your rib cage as if you can expand it evenly in all directions. And I want you to take your time with this, because what you're looking for now is, where do you have some room? Where does your breath reach? Where do you feel movement? Where do you feel the space between the ribs open? And this is going to be that's the easiest place to find in the rib cage. The easiest places. More challenging to find are going to be the areas in the rib cage that are stuck, where there's less movement. Maybe the breath reaches, but it doesn't move the ribs. And this is what we will call resistance. So we're looking for space, and then we're also looking for resistance. And I use the word space as a very, very large umbrella word for where you feel connected to yourself, where you feel safe in your body, where you feel calm in your body, and open. Resistance is a very, very large umbrella term for discomfort. It is pain. It is tension and tightness. But it's also stubbornness, and it's fear, and it's doubt and indifference. And so as you're exploring, we're all different. And so whatever comes up for you is going to be relevant to you. And so sometimes it shows up with really big textures, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes there's a lack of sensation. And so it's just for you to play with and explore in a very non-judgmental way. Again, being an observer in your body. All right, so now inhale's got a job. Inhale's got a destination. So inhale's opening up space, and it's looking for where you need more. As you exhale, just soften. Just melt into the shape, any amount, anywhere your body will, and notice where it will. So it might not relax in where you want it to. And so what we want to do is just learn where it will. And so the places in the body that cooperate, we have great appreciation for. We have great gratitude for the places that cooperate. And then if there are any places that won't, we need to hold those places with kindness and compassion and patience and understanding. And so as you're exploring, as you're learning this, start to notice too, like, how are you about it? What's your attitude about it? What's your inner dialogue about it? Good. All right, so now we're expanding the space in the rib cage. And so wherever you feel it, very gently, You're just trying to stretch out that space really slowly, exhaling to soften. And so now, once you learn what you're working with, you get more choices. So now you have a lot of options on how to be in this shape with yourself, and you get to choose how to explore it. So if you like the idea of opening up the space, you can continue to use your breath in that way just to expand the space. If you've noticed some resistance, some tension, some tightness, something that is needing your attention, then you can choose to inhale into it. Again, super gently. It has to be gentle. It has to be soft breath. And so if this is what you want to work with, you're going to take your inhalation right into one moment, just one moment of the resistance, and see if you can reach it with the breath, with the invitation of it to soften, of it to let go. And maybe it will, maybe it won't, but now you're getting to know it more intimately. One of the really sweet pieces of this practice is that as you expand your space, as you look for where you need more space, you now also get to choose what you fill it with. And so we don't often think about what takes up most of the space in our bodies or in our minds. And it's typically what we think about the most, right? And so now you're making space, you get to choose what to fill it up with. I love joy. I love self-love. I love playfulness and curiosity and kindness. I mean, you get to make it yours, something that you want to invite more or grow more in yourself to fill up that space. All right, we're going to take a few more breaths here. And as you are taking these few breaths, memorize anything you can about this. Anything you've noticed, memorize it. And then when you're ready, we're going to gently come back in, and you can open your eyes. Okay. And then the next shape, we're going to gently move into the next shape. And all you have to do is roll over onto your right side. And so now, this lift is lifting the right side of my rib cage. I've got the support under my head, and I want the back of my right shoulder to have as much contact with the ground as possible. So I want to give myself lots of room here. You may need more or less height under your head so that your head feels as fully as supported as it can be. And then with your legs, they can be wherever they want that's comfortable, with the least amount of tension. So if you get your legs in a position and you can feel yourself holding tension, you might need to change and move. You also don't have to commit to the shape. You can also change it anytime you want. So from here, my left arm is going to go up and over my head. What I'm going for here is opening up this whole left side. And then from there, opening and twisting open. So each of these shapes, they're accumulative to what you know and understand about your body. And so as you make room in the shapes, you can then move into it. So we'll start here. All right, so now let yourself just start to settle into this new shape. And do this by first, again, like we did at the beginning, just bring your attention to the contact that you have with the ground. So everywhere you feel the floor under you, start to sink into it. So that contact is now deepening, it is spreading out. And notice where you feel this. Where does your body naturally like to release in this way? Where is it easy for it to release in this way? And then where is it resistant? as you sink and spread out, bring more attention now to the outer right leg and outer right hip. Let that contact deepen, softening through your inner thighs to let it. As you release in your legs, bring a little more weight into your left knee. And now your legs are your anchor. Good. From grounding in the hips, let the whole right side of your body lengthen and open over that lift. And soften to receive that lift. So instead of you just laying over it, you're soft and receptive. Good. As the right rib cage lifts, it's going to lift and open the whole left side of your body. So a little more distance, a little more space between your left hip and left armpit. It opens up the left side of your low belly, left side of low back, left waist. So from your sternum, from your chest, the ribs, they wrap all the way around. The lowest ribs are near your waist. The highest ribs are deep in your armpit, under your collarbone, under your shoulder blade. Now as your rib cage opens, release the top of your left shoulder. And then hang more heavily the back of your right shoulder into the ground. And let some release wash down your right arm, through your elbow and your wrist. And then let your neck and your head be as supported as much as it possibly can so that you can release and relax your neck. I would love for your neck to just be super long, but you also have to feel safe and comfortable. So let your head be in whatever shape and position it wants. Good. All right, now we come to breath. And so with your breath, let it be gentle and slow and patient. And you're going to start to look for space and lack of space. So in this shape, use your inhalation. Start to explore this whole left side with your breath. Using inhale to open, using inhale to expand. Exhale to soften. Good, and as you're here, when you find the room, when you find the space, when you find where you need more, then you get to choose where and how to breathe. So gentle texture, patient pace. You get to choose to expand where you feel space or to work on and go in and really gently and sweetly get to know the resistance in your body in this shape. And we have to be patient, we have to be gentle when we're doing this work because the body does not respond well if we're anything but. And so make sure you stay really sweet with yourself and sweet with your inhalation. All right, and we're going to take a few more breaths here. If you made some room, if you opened up some space, I want you to breathe in a way that lets you really memorize it. Memorize it physically, mentally, emotionally, every which way you can. And then when you're ready, we're going to gently undo from this shape and release. So you can just bring your left arm back down. And stay on your right side for a moment. And then when you're ready, we'll just push the floor away and sit up. Okay. Now we're going to transition to the left side. So you can either just roll over on your blanket or your towel, or you can sit up and switch the sides like I'm doing now. All right, and so now we're gonna just come onto our left side. And so take your time getting adjusted. We wanna take that lift into those left side ribs so that I have plenty of room for the back of my shoulder to come to the ground. And then legs get to be in whatever shape they wanna be in so that they can release and relax as much as possible. And there's the least amount of tension. So once you figured your legs and your left shoulder, from there we're going to take that right arm up and over, opening up this whole right side, possibly twisting open, but there's no right or wrong to this. This is you getting as comfortable in this shape as possible. All right, so with that, now I want you to bring your attention into the contact that you have with the ground. So start to track your attention through the outer left leg, left hip, all of the contact that you have with the ground. And then where you find that contact, where you feel that contact, let it deepen. Let it sink and spread out and release. Noticing where your body can do this and where it won't. Having patience, compassion, and understanding for all of those moments in the body that don't cooperate. Good. As you bring that weight into your left hip, let the left hip get super heavy, softening through your inner groin and inner thighs to let it. And then bring a little more weight into your right knee. From there, now the whole left side of your body is lengthening over that lift. So soften through your left rib cage. Let it receive that lift. And as it does, now the whole right side of your body expands. You're inviting more distance between your right hip and right armpit. This opens up your right side of low back, right side of low belly, right waist, and the whole right side of your rib cage. So those ribs that start at your sternum, your breastbone, wrap all the way around to your spine, from your right waist, all the way up into your right armpit, under your collarbone, under your shoulder blade. We want to invite as much space into this right rib cage as possible. Good. As your right side opens, release the top of your right shoulder. And then hang more heavily the back of your left shoulder into the ground. And let that release wash down your left arm. So through your elbow, through your wrist, through your palm. Good. From there, check in with your head and your neck. I'd like for your neck to be long, but let your head be in any position where you are the most comfortable. And then bring a little bit more weight into the left side of the base of your skull. Good. From there, right arm is up and over any amount, possibly opening the chest to the right, but maybe not. This is your pose. This is your experience. So you get to choose. Good. Now that we're here, it's all up to the breath. So bring all of your attention to your breath and start to control it in a way where it's gentle and slow, but just the right amount. And now we're going to explore the whole right side of the rib cage. All right, with that gentle breath, now we're going to explore and expand this whole right side of the rib cage. And so take your time. You know, part of this is you learning what you're working with more than it is doing or changing anything. And so you've got to get to know, where do you have the space in your ribs? Where do you need more? And so inhalation, gently coming in, seeking out, finding where your ribs move. Where is there space between the ribs? Where does your breath reach and open already, naturally? And then where are the stuck places in your rib cage? Where do you feel tight, resistant, stubborn? You know, what is yours? What is your resistance? And so every inhalation's got a job. It's got a destination, an intention. And then every exhalation, let yourself soften. Just soften and melt into the shape. Any amount, anywhere your body will, noticing where it will and where it might not. Good. As you breathe, as you release, you're letting yourself ground more, and we're really trying to open up. So I want you to really learn where you are able to do this. Where do you feel space growing? Where do you feel yourself opening? And so again, as you're breathing in this way, as you're exploring, we want to be so patient and so kind to ourselves. And the places that cooperate, we have gratitude and appreciation for. And the places that are stuck, the places that are more challenged, we have patience and understanding and compassion. And those are very crucial to this practice. All right, we're going to take a few more breaths here. And as you are, let your breath really fill out any space that you've made. Let it basically seal in whatever you've noticed so that you can memorize it as much as you possibly can right now. Anything you've noticed. And then as you're ready, we're going to very gently undo from this shape. And so bring down and relax your right arm. You can roll all the way back over onto your left side and take a couple breaths so that we're not doing anything quickly. We're being really patient with ourselves. And then as you're ready, you can push the floor away with your hands to sit up. The next shape that we're going to take, we're still going to want our lift. You can, if you don't want it rolled up, you can always change the fold. I like a lot of lift on this one, but it doesn't really matter how much you have. So I'm trying to make this about as stable as I can possibly make it, because we're now going to take this lift under our hips. And so this blanket or this towel is going to be supporting my hips. So I want it to be as stable as possible. So that looks pretty good to me. So now we're going to move into the new shape, which is going to be a supported hips pose. And so I'm going to lay down on my back. And then from here, I'm just going to lift my hips and take this towel under my hips so that it's supported. Take a moment to open up the space between your navel and your pubic bone. So you might even rock your pelvis up and down, back and forth, to feel where you are completely supported with your hip. All right, so I want my hips to be fully supported so that I can soften now my inner groin, inner thighs, and hang my sit bones. From hips being supported, we don't have a big lift. We're not going for a big back bend. What we're going for is length. And so the back of my body can now lengthen and open, and the front of my body is lengthening and opening. Just nice, big, full lift. From there, let your chest open and release your shoulders. So if you feel like you need support under your head, you may have some. It does not need to be very high though. So just a little bit of gentle support, a little gentle lift would be helpful. If you take too much support under your head, then your neck can't be long. You're very short in the front and it's congested. We want space, right? So little bit of support, if any at all. Arms, take your arms a comfortable distance from your sides. And let's just take a pause here. Soften through your inner thighs. Soften your inner groin. And think about letting your inner thighs just release down into the floor of your pelvis. Really softening through to let your hips release more heavily. Invite a little more space between your navel and your pubic bone. And let the front of your hip socket soften. Allow your hips to be held by that towel or that blanket. And from there, it's as if your whole spine can release longer from your hips all the way through the base of your skull. As you're releasing your spine in this way, think about inviting more space in between each vertebra. So I love this idea, like the domino effect or the ripple effect, right? From your hips, release. Space grows between each vertebra one at a time. Good. As your spine releases longer in this way, where else do you feel that space go? Like when the domino effect reaches the top of your spine, where else do you feel it? Soften across your chest. Let it gently lift and open. As it does, broaden your collarbone. Soften the front of your armpits. Bring more weight into the top of your shoulders. And more weight into the root of your arms. Good. As your chest lifts and opens, as you open in this way, let the back of your shoulders broaden into the ground. And then bring your attention to the space in between your shoulder blades. And let this part of your back expand and open. We want to find like a floating sensation here. As it floats, as the space between your shoulder blades opens and floats, it makes it easier to release the shoulders. From this floating in between your shoulder blades, release the back of your neck a little bit longer and bring some weight into the base of your skull. As you bring weight into the base of your skull, release the hinges of your jaw and soften your throat. Now come to your breath. Gentle, slow, patient, and deliberate. In this shape, where do you feel space? Where do you need more space? So use your inhale to go in and start to learn where it is. Where do you feel it? Where do you need it? And how are you going to expand the space that's there? Or try to soften and melt any tension or resistance you feel in this shape. So gentle breath, deliberate, patient. And as you do, let your breath really fill out any space you've made. I want you to memorize anything you've noticed. Good. And then as we're ready to come out of this shape, let the back of your shoulders stay really heavy. And I want you to move it as gently as you can. And you're just barely going to lift your hips a little bit off that blanket or towel. And then slowly move it out from under your hips. And then slowly as you can or want to, start to bring your back down to the ground, leading with your inner thighs. Let your inner thighs reach toward the wall in front of you and down toward the floor to come back down to the ground. And once you've settled into the ground, just pause. Let yourself just experience the after effects of that shape. And take 3 full breaths with yourself here. Good. All right, our last shape and final shape is just resting. And so you can have the pillow under your head and neck. If you want to, you can take this lift of the towel or the blanket under your knees. But really, I just want you to have as much ground under you as possible. And so, yeah, I'll show you. Just here. Take whatever support you need under your head and or your knees so that you can get as comfortable as possible. And give yourself room. So regardless of whether or not you can feel it or not, you made more space. You did make more room in your body. And so now we want to let the body assimilate all of that information. And so take up the space, as much space as you want. So your arms are a comfortable distance from your sides. Legs are in whatever position they can release the most in. And you can either rest with your palms facing up, and if that doesn't feel super safe to you, you can always put one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. Good. All right, now bring your attention to all of the contact that you feel with the ground. And start to track through, noticing every moment that you can. And when you find it, when you locate that contact, let it deepen, let it sink and spread out. The sensation that I feel when I'm practicing this is the idea of thick paint. So let your body just melt and spread. noticing where it will and where it might not. Having gratitude and appreciation for where it will, patience and understanding and compassion for where it won't. Soften through your belly. Let your belly and all of your abdominal organs release toward your spine. And as it does, let that softness spread out. This is the ripple effect of softness. So from your belly, soften evenly in all directions. That softness now moves down through your hips, your inner thighs, soften toward the ground. Right buttock releases down to the right. Left buttock down to the left. Soften and let the back of your thighs open, softening down through the back of your knees and your calves. As you release the back of your legs open, soften the front of your ankles and bring more weight into your heels. And then let the bones in your legs settle. So release the bones in your legs. Bring a little more weight into your hips. And as you do, as your hips settle, the more they settle, the easier it is for the base of your spine, your sacrum, which is the part of your spine right in the center of the back of your hips, the easier it is for that to free up and release and float. Good. From there, invite more space into the length of your spine in between each vertebra, all the way up through the base of your skull. And you have more room in your rib cage. So we want to let the whole rib cage expand and open. And if you can remember where you felt space, where you felt that movement, check in with it. How is it when you're just relaxing, totally soft? Let your chest gently lift and open. As it does, soften the front of your armpits. Release the top of your shoulders. Bring more weight into the root of your arms. And let that release wash down your arms, releasing through your elbows, your wrists, your palms. As your chest opens and your shoulders release, let the back of your shoulders broaden and soften and open and float that space between your shoulder blades. And from that, release the back of your neck longer and bring more weight into the base of your skull. Release the hinges of your jaw and soften the tissue of your scalp. Let the tissue of your forehead release. Soften right and left temples and the bridge of your nose. And let your eyes rest under heavily and softly closed eyelids. As your eyes soften, release your cheekbones. And let your jaw release from the depth of each hinge down through your chin Soften upper lip, lower lip, the roof of your mouth, and the root of your tongue. And soften your throat. Let yourself rest. Give yourself permission to be soft and quiet. And bring your attention to your breath. For this part of the practice, you do not need to control it in any way. Let it flow naturally and freely. And every inhalation comes in. And it's really just coming in to explore the space that you've made. Filling it up. Every exhalation, soften and release, just melting into the pull of gravity, noticing where your body is really comfortable doing this. Where does your body like to relax in this way? Gratitude and appreciation, patience, understanding, and compassion. Take a few more breaths here. As you're breathing these last few breaths in this shape, memorize anything you can, anything you've noticed. And then start to bring your attention back in. And begin to bridge your attention between your deep, quiet inner space and your room. And as you're bridging your attention, start to prepare your body for movement. Gently wiggle toes, gently wiggle fingers. And as you introduce movement, be really gentle and move very organically. So move in only the way that your body wants to move. And very sweetly bend your knees one at a time. And then using an exhalation, roll over onto your right side. Take a few breaths here with yourself. Good. And then you can push the floor away and sit up. And then we'll bring both hands to our heart. And just for a moment, to seal and end the practice, we come to gratitude. Gratitude and that we have this body to live in. Gratitude for the space that we have to practice in. Gratitude for our community. And gratitude for our life. Thank you for practicing with me today. I hope you found some space.